But I didn't want to just leave you in the dark about my methodology, so I'll briefly go through what I would do. I used to work as a volunteer for this old book repository. I always get the rhetoric messed up. And so these are some of the things that I would do when looking for old documents. And this turns out this is kind of a government document. I don't know how they classified it. Makes it look like a journal. So the first thing I would do, library catalog. That one you've obviously already done, and there's like references to it, reviews, and it's like, where is that thing? The next place that I always go to for older stuff, especially if it's out of copyright, is under databases, under the letter H. There's this cool thing called the Hati Trust. And so this is the database that I worked with. And I would take trouble tickets and answer them. So people were looking for something. They wanted to classify something. They wanted something brought out of copyright. If it is a government document, then you can't copyright government documents. So this is a great place to look for GovDocs, even if they're newer. And a lot of libraries are relying on this so they can reduce their footprint of physical things. And all I got was lists of publications or other people that had cited it. So this was a dud too, but it did have a lot of other things that it might be interesting to tie it to and look at. And you can also see the sponsoring institution that actually scanned it and is hosting it. So it's kind of like this collaborative catalog. But if it's like out of date, out of copyright, like 70 plus years, or a government document, you can look at these things. It's like a big PDF. It's pretty cool. But that was a dud. And so next I went to a big, what they called a union catalog, where you could see the books of every library that was a member. And that's called WorldCat as a database. And I struck gold with that one. So it's under the W's. World, oh, I passed it up, didn't I? Oh, I always get this messed up. Oh, my video was so slick up to that point. There we go. WorldCat first search. There's a discovery one that I've never gotten along with. So I'm introducing my bias in my methodology already. In this one, you can look in the title and you don't need the quotes because it's going to do that. It's already going to have that quotes in there, and you look for that as a block of text in the title. And the drum roll is, there's more references to it, but here you can start to see publications. And in this one, it's called a book. So you get to determine the value of this, if it's spot on with the date, or if this is like a reprint or an edited edition. Looks like both of them are from 43. And here's this note, one committed to retain. So there's an agreement between libraries where somebody will keep a seminal copy of it. So if it does get digitized and put in Hati Trust, this one library will always hang on to that. But what you can do is, I mean, we know that it exists. You could click on this and get the metadata, but you can see, at this point, it doesn't really matter. Since we know it exists, you can also see that it exists locally at BYU. But interlibrary loan, for a short amount of time, will call those other libraries and say, hey, mail us the whole thing. So from interlibrary loan, the rub is if you only need a chapter or 10% or less, you're not breaking copyright law by asking for a scan of it. Having said that, this might be a question for interlibrary loan. So you would just request the book. But what you might do, since it's out of copyright, you might say, after you've filled in the info, there's home delivery for this too because of COVID, hot dog. But somewhere in the notes field, you could say, hey, is it possible that since this isn't, we don't think this is protected by copyright anymore, is it possible to digitize the whole thing and send me the whole book? That would be a question where that would go in. So if you get it physically in the library, typically the lending time is really short, like 7 days. But BYU's got it, so it won't take long, but it will have to go through the mail if it's protected by copyright. Okay? Thanks for the fun question. Sorry about my casual attire. I am working from home today. Hope you had a lovely weekend. See you later.